Welcome. Glad you could make it on this chilly day here in the old Pueblo. So let's get started. So today we're going to talk about iOS 16. As you may recall, in the past we recommend not updating to a new operating system until it's at the third version or the 0.3. Hello, Bob. And so yesterday, 16.3 was made available. We had heard it was going to be available tomorrow, but Apple has been moving things up on us. So let's talk about iOS 16 and some of the new features. So this is Go for Lunch for the 24th of January 2023, brought to you by GoFor Technology. I'm Roger Harmon, your host, and if you're here for the first time, please type new in the comments so we can get to know you. And as always, our mission is to make your technology work for you. So we're going to do that today by introducing you to some of the features in iOS 16. So of course, to take advantage of these features, you have to install it. So this is about iOS 16 for the iPhone and the iPad. So to install it, you would go to Settings, General, and then Software Update. The software is downloaded, and then the second part is the actual installation. So plan on this taking about an hour or a little more than an hour. So you want to make sure you want to do this at a time where you don't need your iPhone for over an hour. Maybe just before you go to bed would be a good time to do it. And you need to have an iPhone 8 or later to use iOS 16. You can also, once you install iOS 16 on your phone, you can install Watch OS 9.3 on your Apple Watch, and you do that by going to the Watch app on your iPhone, then go to General and Software Update, and again the update is downloaded, then the installation process begins, and you need to have your watch on the charger when you're doing this. So one of the new features is to mail in iOS 16. So they've added some features. One is called Unsend. Another is Send Later. Another is a follow-up reminder. And they have improved search on mail, which needed to be improved. So let's see how that works. So we're going to switch here to our iPhone. We're going to go to Mail. So let's create a new mail message as soon as it gets done here. So we're going to click on the little square in the lower right hand corner, and we're going to send this to Bob. There he is. And we're going to call this Test 5. And then we're going to send it by hitting the blue arrow or the blue circle with the up arrow in the upper right hand corner. So there it is. So now at the bottom here in blue it says undo send. So it just went away. So it looks like I don't have the time set on undo send. So let's talk about that. So now we're going to go to Settings. We're going to go to Mail here, which is right under Password here towards the bottom. And we're going to go to Undo Send Delay here at the very bottom. So you can see it was only set for 10 seconds. So that's why it disappeared. So we're going to set it for 30 seconds. And then we're going to go back to Mail. And we're going to create another mail message to Bob. I'm going to fill up Bob's mailbox here. So this is going to be test 5. And then we're going to send it. And now we have undo send at the bottom. We click on that. There's the message. And then we're going to click on cancel at the top left. And that message has been unsent. So what if we want to send later? So let's forward this message. Bob likes gadgets. So we're going to forward this message to Bob. And I'm going to click on forward, put in Bob's address. And now on the blue circle in the upper right hand corner with the up arrow, we're going to hold that. And you can see now we get some options. We can send it now. We can send it later at 9 o'clock tonight. And there it goes, but let me do this again. So we're going to forward this to Bob. We're going to hold down the blue circle with the up arrow. And then we're going to click on send later, which is the 4th choice here. So here we can customize it. So now we can send it, we can tap on the time, change the time. We'll send it at 1:06. We tap on the date, so we can send it tomorrow or any date we want. So let's say we're going to send it tomorrow at 1:06. We click on done. And so tomorrow at 1:06, Bob will get yet another copy of this message. So let's say here's this message that came to me, and I want to be reminded to follow up on it. So I click on the little arrow at the bottom right, which you'd normally click on for reply, but notice under reply, it now has remind me. So I tap on remind me, so I can be reminded in an hour, tonight, tomorrow, or if I click on later, in the same way I can customize it for a different day and time. So let's say I want to be reminded on Thursday, and then I click the little switch to turn on the time, and we'll say Thursday at 5:07, and then we'll click on done. So I will get a reminder for that message on Thursday at 5:07. So some really handy features for mail. Message also got some updates. So now you can unsend a message, and you do that within 2 minutes by holding down on the message bubble, and then you tap it to undo send. So let's go into messages. So back to our iPhone, we go into messages. So I'm going to create a new message. Up in the upper right hand corner in the little square. So I'm going to send this to Bob. There's Bob. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrating unsend message. Okay. And so now I send the message by hitting the blue circle with the up arrow. Okay, so now I can hold down on that message along, and you can see here I get the second choice here is undo send, and bam, that message is unsent. But the little note here says Bob may still see the message on devices where the software has not been updated. So basically what that means is this note confirming that you unsent the message will appear in both conversation transcripts in yours and your recipient. So it works best when both people involved have iOS 16 or iPad 16 or Mac OS Ventura. So we just demonstrated that. So Messages has some other updates, and that is Edit. So now you can edit a message that you recently set up to 5 times within 15 minutes. So here we are. We're going to go back here, and we're going to take this message. Well, we're going to create a new message because we undid the last message. Demonstration of editing a message. Okay, so we sent it. So now we hold down on it, and now we go to Edit. And now we can make a change here for Go for Lunch. And then we just hit the blue check mark. It's still dictating. And now we've edited the message and resent it. So again, the way that works is you touch and hold the message bubble, tap on Edit, and then you make your changes, and then tap on the blue arrow to resend it. So again, if you make a mistake or you misspell something, then you can go in and make that correction up to 5 times in the first 15 minutes after you've sent it. So the weather app, you may have heard that Apple bought the weather app known as Dark Sky, which was sunsetted at the end of last year, and they have incorporated many of the features of Dark Sky into the Apple weather app. Just a reminder here, you can ask Siri what is the weather, and you will get a tile or a card that comes up. So let's also remind you that you can now get severe weather alerts, and you can get an hourly forecast, which you can swipe right or left to see the different hours of the day. So let's look at that. So back here on our iPhone, we're going to bring up the weather app. And so here we are. So right now in Tucson, it's 47 degrees and sunny. The high is going to be 53. So here's our hourly. But we could also get this to come up by saying, "Hey Siri, what's the weather?" And of course, Siri came up on my home pod and not my iPhone. So we're going to try this again. "Hey Siri, what's the weather?"
It's currently clear and 47 degrees. Temperatures are heading down from 50 to 36 degrees tonight.
So then we tap on that card and we go right into the weather app. So here we have our hourly information. So right now it's sunny and 47 degrees. And at 5 o'clock it's sunny and 51 degrees. Sunset is at 5:50. Then we can see we have darkness indicated by the crescent and the little stars. And we see here at midnight it's going to be 36 degrees. And starting at 3 in the morning it's going to be freezing. Sunrise is at 7:21. And we get out of freezing at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And it goes to 11 o'clock tomorrow, where it's going to be back to 47 again. So now here is our 10-day forecast. So if we wanted to see what the weather is going to be like on Saturday, we would tap on Saturday, and then we get this chart, and then we just put our finger here. So the low is 34, and the high is going to be 66. So that's how we can tell what's going on a particular day. And you can see it gives you the daily summary down below. Then up here to the right, we can see it says 66 degrees, 34 degrees, and sunny. To the right of that, there's a little down arrow. When you click on that, then you can get other information like the ultraviolet index, the wind, precipitation, the feels like temperature, humidity, visibility, and pressure. So if we hit humidity, so now we have the humidity again. We can just drag our finger across, see that the humidity is going to be 59% at 6 in the morning. At noon, it's going to be 20%. At 6 p.m., it's going to be 27%. And then it's going to be 46% later in the evening. And then, I don't know if you can see it, but right below the percentage of the humidity, it's showing us the dew point. So the dew point at 6 o'clock, for example, is 24 degrees. And then it tells us down here a little weather information, a little weather facts, how relative humidity works, and how the dew point works. So those are all new features that have been added to the weather app. So we saw here that you can see the 10-day forecast, and you can also see a day in the 10-day forecast. So battery percentage. So this is something we had, and then Apple took it away, and now Apple has brought it back. So to check that, which is probably going to be off by default when you go to iOS 16, you go to Settings, Battery, and Battery Percentage. And then we're going to also talk about battery health and charging, setting it up for optimized battery charging. So back to our iPhone. So here we are in the iPhone, and right there in the middle, it says battery. We tap on that. And then we, at the very top, you can see battery percentage is turned off. So we turn that on. And as you notice in the upper right-hand corner, nothing happened, but we'll explain that here in a second. But first, let's talk about battery health and charging. So that's down here in the top third. And this maximum capacity tells me that my battery is at 97% of the maximum 100% when it was new. And then we want to turn on optimized battery charging. So the note there says, to reduce battery aging, iPhone learns from your daily charging routine, so it can wait to finish charging past 80% until you need to use it. So this will help your battery last longer. It will not charge to 100% until just before you need it. If you do your daily charging where you plug in your phone at night and unplug it in the morning, it will optimize that charging cycle. So we're going to go to the Inspectocam. So you'll notice up here in the upper right, there's a battery indicator and there's no percentage. That's because it doesn't work when you are plugged in, which we are. So we're going to unplug, and there it pops up. It says 96, and hopefully you can see that 96%. So that's what it's going to look like. We're going to plug this back in case we need it again. So another nice feature is Face ID can now activate when you're in the landscape position. So that's a real nice feature if you have an iPhone 13 or later. So you need an iPhone 13 for this to work. So maps have some nice new features. So now you can add up to 15 stops on your route that you set up on your maps, and you can also add this on your map app on your Mac, and then send it to your iPhone or do it on your iPhone. And they also now have landmarks in 3D. Unfortunately, it's only for major cities at this time, so Tucson is not one of those. So let's see how that works. Okay, so here we are on our iPhone. We're going to go to Maps. So let's say we want to go to Macy's at Tucson Mall. So here's Macy's at Tucson Mall. Okay, so we're going to click on Drive here. It's going to take us 17 minutes. And now when we clicked on Drive, you see now we have an option here to add a stop. So we're going to click on Add a Stop. And now we can search for something. Let's say we want to go to the post office. So now we have a stop here. To go to the post office, we have a separate routes there. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't prioritize the stops according to what's the closest. But now we can add another stop. Let's say we want to get gas. So we're going to go to a Quick Trip nearby. So here's one on First Avenue. Here's one on Oracle. So we'll go to the Quick Trip, and now you can see it says Add ST, which is short for Add Stop. We click on that, and now we have that added to our route. So that's a nice feature. Just remember, you want to do it in the order of what is closest first to make that work the way you expect it to. So another feature here is the landmarks. So we're going to search for Las Vegas, which we did. Okay, now when we zoom in to the center of Las Vegas, we're going to find something that's tall. And let's see. Looks like we got a lot of shopping places there. And I'm not finding my tall buildings here. So there's Fremont Street, and it should be right down here. This worked in rehearsal really well. So let's assume that one of these things is tall. So let's look at the Las Vegas City Hall. It's probably tall. So now I have to hit 3D. So up in the upper right hand corner, you see 3D. Okay, so now we can see a 3D rendering of the Las Vegas City Hall. Let's look around and see if there's anything else we can see here. Anyway, you get the idea. So unfortunately, it's not going to be available for every place. Just, you can see here's the Las Vegas market, 3D rendering. So that's how that works. So another neat feature is search. So search is now at the bottom of the screen on your iPhone, and you can also still swipe down from the center to get to search, but this is a lot handier. So here we are. It may be hard to see, but down here at the bottom of the screen it says search. So now all you have to do is tap on search, and now you can search for whatever you want. The search field is now in the center instead of at the top. So we can search for an app. So let's search for let's search for an app. So we're going to hit S. So we can search for storm radar. And there it is. Okay. So that's going to be our first edition of new features of iOS 16. So if you have any questions or comments, if you haven't put them in, please put them in the comments now. And remember to share the GoFor Gazette with anybody you know that uses Apple products. If you haven't already, please subscribe and hit the little bell so that you can be notified when we go live. And we need 2 more subscribers to get to the magic 100. And a public service announcement, Zoom has yet again updated their software. They did that on January 20th. So if you haven't updated Zoom, get it up to version 5.13.6. Okay, so let's see here what we have. And so Leslie Ann has a comment here that she likes send later. That's very cool. Yes, I do too. And then she has a question: what would unsend work in WhatsApp? And unfortunately at this point they do not have that feature. It's only in Apple Messages. And Apple says Apple Unsend won't work in WhatsApp. Okay, so you answered that question. Okay, good, Bob. Thank you. And Leslie Ann says thank you as well. And the answer to isn't Macy's closed? And the answer is no. Macy's is open at Tucson Mall. It may be closed at Park Place, but it's open at Tucson Mall. So we're going to continue in the coming weeks showing you features of iOS 16. When I was doing some research, I saw some people talking about 140 new features. So there's lots of material out there for us to be covering in the future. So if you have any questions about iOS 16 or anything else, feel free to contact me. That information will be coming up shortly. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.